Hello, Zhao Martins, licensed marriage and family therapist, couples therapist. I am in the Berkshire Mountains, in Kripalu Yoga Center for Healing. I got certified as a Kripalu yoga teacher 18 years ago here. So that is my first time coming back, and I wanted to do a video here in my home ground in some way. That's where my spiritual practice started. So last week, I talked a little bit about the first kind of noise, ambiguity, and I mentioned ambivalence in the same sentence. So I did some research afterwards, particularly to differentiate between ambiguity and ambivalence and contradictory. So according to OpenAI, ambiguity and redundancy and contradictory, or more of the concept of the mind, more cognitive concept. So it talks about in relationship with other people when we communicate, how we create and communicate our thoughts with the other person. So if you're ambivalent, that means your communication is unclear, that you could be giving some vague general answers and people don't really know what you're talking about. If you are being ambivalent, that is actually internal feelings. When you have a part of you feel this way, there's another part feel the other way. You're not quite sure. You're being pulled to different directions. And it's not to describe how you communicate that to other people. It's more like an internal state. If you're contradictory, that means you say this is black and white. If you say I love you and I don't, if you say I'm in pain and I'm not, that is contradictory. You're literally hitting yourself with a target yourself by saying negating what you just said. So we all do this as human beings when we communicate to other people. Last episode, I talked about how we can be ambivalent about what we convey to other people. And it is especially challenging for some people who have more ADHD symptoms. It can be a demonstration or presentation of our neurodivergence, or it can be something else. Sometimes it's a way to protect ourselves in communication, in relationship with other people, not to be very clear. So we don't get held accountable for what we said, right? And getting attacked. So it's a protection thing. It's understandable. Yet it creates a lot of noise and anxiety for other people who are in communication and conversation with you. They don't really get to know what you're trying to say, who you are as a person. And you can imagine how that stops the connection with other people. And oftentimes, people on the receiving end don't feel clear in their head and they don't feel connected with someone who communicate ambiguously. So today, let's focus on the second kind of noise, being contradictory. It's pretty straightforward, like I said. You can say, honey, I love you, and I don't, right? That's contradictory. You either love someone or you don't. So it happens in a circle when you divide into half, black and white situation. And there are a lot of things in life, it's not black and white. There are a lot of gray areas, right? So that make this communication harder to be very clear. So what I see in ADHD affected relationships, both partner can be very contradictory sometimes. I hear some partner may want their partner with ADHD to really help them with tasks. But there's another part of them that's saying to their partner, don't help me. For example, they say, well, please help with the kids' homework. And the other person criticizes their partner for not doing it right, not doing the way they expect them to do. So that's actually really sending a message, a contradictory message. Help the children with the homework and help me, and don't help me because you're not doing a good job. So on the receiving end, say in this case, the partner with more ADHD symptoms, and they may feel very boggled as for what am I supposed to do? Sometimes they feel trapped, like either way, I do it or not I do it, or I don't do it. I'm never right. I can never be good enough for you as a partner, as a co-parent. And they feel so desperate, so defeated and hopeless and helpless that part of them just don't want to try anymore. So that really make the relationship dynamic difficult to unravel, isn't it? So another type of what we call noise communication is called redundancy. I noticed that happens a lot with a partner who is not identified with ADHD symptoms. One example I can think about is if they request their partner with ADHD to help them out with certain tasks at home, say doing the dishes, and their partner were not acting right away, or not being fast or efficient enough, and they may convey the same message in different ways. They may say, when do you think you're gonna do the dishes? Are you supposed to be doing the dishes? Did you just agree to do the dishes? When do you think is the best time to do the dishes? So it's all around the same message. I want you to do the dishes, but they said it in different ways in some questions that can be answered by themselves, right? So that information is actually called redundant. It is a repetition of the same message in different ways, and it really can provoke the other person to feel their defiant position where they'll get activated. They start to feel like they're a teenager, they're being nagged at, they lose their autonomy, and then they start to push back, either actively getting upset, or they push back passively by getting into a one down defiant role where they just, I'm not doing it. I'm not telling you I'm not doing it. I will not do it, or I will do it slowly, or I'll do a terrible job so you don't ask me again. So as you can see, three different ways of communicating that's now very effectively, we call them noise. It's being ambivalent, ambiguous in your communication, being contradictory to yourself, what you just said, and or being redundant, repeating the similar information in slightly different ways. You think you can trick them, but they get it. So when we communicate that in that way in our relationships in general, especially in ADHD affected relationships, that creates a dynamic of disconnection. When, because both people were in different places, there's really no clear information going through past the boundary between the people, and in their couple relationship, that they're not on the same page. When you're not feeling you're on the same page, you're disconnected emotionally, and people react based on this disconnected place. Some people get angry, some people withdraw, some people are sad, some people start to criticize their partner. It is a pattern that people keep creating and repeating, that they feel further and further away from each other. Thank you for viewing and listening this week. I will see you next week, my friends.